Haven and Rykov. Translation checker, Pew Pew Laser Gun. Editor and proofreader, Leo of Zion Mountain and Dale Ligerkeys. Twin Lotuses. Lu Xianyun exclaimed, "No wonder you were all asking me where I found it. So, it's to find the other heavenly restoration lotus. In that case, it seems Yao Changjun also knows quite a lot about this twin heavenly restoration lotus. He was able to identify it through its aura alone, so he has clearly done some research." Yang Kai raised a brow and continued, "From what he said, the heavenly restoration lotus seems to have appeared here in the solitary void mountain range before, so that's why he waited here for 200 years. But senior brother, there was only this one when I found it." Lu Xianyun was confused. Even though she had come upon the white heavenly restoration lotus by chance, she had also carefully looked around its surroundings when she picked it and did not find any other valuable spirit medicines. If the twin heavenly restoration lotus was really one white and one black, then there was no way she could have missed it. Maybe someone else took it, or maybe you overlooked it, but let's not worry about that for now. We have to find a way to get rid of that old monster first. After saying that, Yang Kai stopped talking and focused on studying the terrain. The solitary void mountain range was a rough wilderness area near Marsh City, and also a place where many cultivators liked to train at. Due to the special environment, many valuable monster beasts and spirit herbs could be found here. The cultivators living in Marsh City came here often in groups in order to find cultivation materials. Lu Xianyun had been here many times, so she knew the terrain well. Under her guidance, the two of them rushed over to the solitary void mountain range in just under an hour. As soon as he stepped down, Yang Kai could feel a frightening aura lingering around him, as if something that could threaten his safety existed deep inside this solitary void mountain range. And, based on what Lu Xianyun said, she had always trained at the outer periphery of the solitary void mountain range, never going deep inside. The reason was that the deeper one ventured, the more dangerous it was. Once, an Emperor Realm Master was daring enough to enter the deepest depths of the solitary void mountain range, but he never came out. Last time, if not out of desperation from being chased by a monster beast, Lu Xianyun would never have run inside. In the end, she was able to escape safely completely thanks to her own luck. But the deeper one went, the more rewards a cultivator could obtain. The high rewards often led cultivators into taking risks. Countless cultivators went missing in the solitary void mountain range every year. But there were no absolutes in anything. Often, good things could be found in the outer area of the solitary void mountain range too. Once, a cultivator was able to find a patch of emperor-grade spirit grass just 1,000 kilometers from the edge of solitary void mountain range, allowing him to acquire a massive amount of wealth. Yang Kai wondered, since so many cultivators are training and searching around this outer periphery, how can there still be good things left behind? Lu Xianyun responded, "I'm not too sure either, but it feels different every time I come here. It seems that the scenery here goes through a dramatic change every once in a while, and all the things I saw before on the same path tend to disappear, replaced by something else." Is that true? Yang Kai was astonished. After asking that question, Yang Kai's face changed. Immediately, he spurred on his source chi and once again teleported 100 kilometers in one go, putting some distance between Yao Changjun and them. As expected of a third-order Emperor Realm Master, even though the delightful Pleasures Teahouse's owner suffered heavy damage to his soul, the strength he had remaining was still far beyond Yang Kai's reach. Even though he was proficient in the Tao of space, Yang Kai wasn't able to shake off this old man's pursuit while bringing Lu Xianyun along. Teleporting took a lot of energy from Yang Kai. The pressure of the Star Boundaries world principles was very strong, so a lot of source chi and spiritual energy was required each time he wanted to teleport. On top of that, Yang Kai had to protect Lu Xianyun from the turbulent space principles when he teleported, increasing his consumption greatly. But he had managed to refine a lot of pills during his time in Thousand Leaves sect, which just happened to come into use now. So, for now, there was no need for Yang Kai to worry about exhausting his strength, but this was not a sustainable solution. The solitary void mountain range was filled with dangers. Not only were there a variety of ferocious monster beasts inside, but also many natural spirit arrays. Yang Kai had to release his divine sense while maintaining his demon eye of annihilation at all times in order to avoid these dangers in advance. On the contrary, Yao Changjun who was chasing after them would often fall into traps, likely due to him not daring to use his divine sense flexibly. However, with Yao Changjun's strength, even if he were to be surrounded by monster beasts or get himself caught up in a spirit array, it only took him a moment to extricate himself. Yao Changjun's understanding of solitary void mountain range was much deeper than Yang Kai's. After all, he had been living here for 200 years and naturally wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. Yao Changjun often went to the solitary void mountain range himself in hopes that he could find the twin heavenly restoration lotus. He originally thought that Yang Kai would not be able to escape him for long with how big the gap in their strength was, but after a while, Yao Changjun realized how wrong he was. From beginning to end, he was never able to close the distance between Yang Kai and himself. Every time he used a secret technique to close their distance, Yang Kai would always be able to shake him off, which angered him greatly, yet there was nothing he could do about it. A cultivator who had cultivated the Tao of space was the most difficult to catch. Yao Changjun had fought cultivators like this before, and from what Yang Kai had shown of his skills, this little brat's attainments in the Tao of space were extremely high. Even if it was not as high as that one person Yao Changjun knew, it was definitely not a level of skill a junior with such low cultivation should possess. Where did this freak of a brat come from? Yao Changjun couldn't figure it out. Could he be a disciple taught by Li Wu Yi, the master with the deepest insight into the Tao of space in the entire star boundary? The chase lasted for 5 days, but Yao Changjun was still unable to capture Yang Kai. This caused him to wonder whether he was going to lose this opportunity. If not for the damage he received to his soul, stopping him from releasing his full power, then even if Yang Kai was proficient in the Tao of space, there was no way a trivial third-order Tao Source Realm cultivator could even dream of escaping from Yao Changjun. He could completely lock down the space around Yang Kai, suppressing him with his extremely strong cultivation, not even giving him the opportunity to teleport away. But unfortunately, there were no such things as ifs in this world. Just as Yao Changjun was turning blue from anger and vowing in his heart that he was going to give Yang Kai a miserable death, his heart suddenly jumped and joy filled his face. That was because he discovered that Yang Kai had suddenly stopped moving. He had no idea whether he had been caught up in some spirit array or some other danger, but whatever the reason, it was good news for Yao Changjun. Spurring on his flight-type artifact, he rushed towards Yang Kai's direction. Senior brother, what happened? Several thousand kilometers away, Lu Xianyun was looking at Yang Kai in confusion. Just now, Yang Kai suddenly stopped, his face changing dramatically. I'm a fool. Yang Kai gritted his teeth, a chagrined look on his face. Why do you say that? Lu Xianyun had no idea why he would suddenly say that about himself. Wait for me, I'll be right back. Yang Kai said as he put Lu Xianyun down and swept his divine sense around the area, finding a suitable location before hurrying over to it. A few moments later, Yang Kai slipped into the sealed world bead. Yang Kai was quite surprised that Yao Changjun would actually be so persistent in chasing them. Due to the injury he received to his soul, it made it impossible for him to lock onto their position with his divine sense. In fact, Yang Kai had not detected Yao Changjun once in the 5 days of their chase. The other party was still able to pinpoint their location, however, and was constantly chasing behind them. It had to be mentioned that Yang Kai had teleported multiple times during these past 5 days, and with Yao Changjun's current state, Yang Kai was confident he could lose him. So, then how had he been locating them? The only explanation was that Yao Changjun had put down some sort of mark on him and Lu Xianyun, and pinpointed their location through that. When he thought of this, Yang Kai knew he had been too careless in the past 5 days. If he had noticed this earlier, they may have lost this old monster by now. Inside the small sealed world, Yang Kai's senses were being magnified many times over. Inside the sealed world bead that he refined, he was its ruler, and the world moved as his wished. Even though the world principles of the small sealed world were not perfect yet, it was still easy for Yang Kai to use them to search his body for any abnormalities. Yang Kai used the world principles within the sealed world bead in order to search every inch of his body. He prayed that things would not be too complicated, that the secret technique or seal would be on his body. If it was placed on Lu Xianyun, then he would have to bring Lu Xianyun into the sealed world bead to check her. 5 breaths later, Yang Kai's eyes lit up. He reached into his space ring and took out the jade box containing the heavenly restoration lotus, then he tossed it over to Lu Yan who had rushed over, saying, "A master's mark is on this box, get rid of it." Lu Yan took the box and before she could say anything to Yang Kai, the latter had already disappeared. Deep inside the solitary void mountain range, Lu Xianyun was standing there alone, looking around at the unfamiliar scenery around her with unease. Yang Kai went into a small mound at the side, and she had no idea what he was doing, but he suddenly disappeared without even leaving any hint of his aura behind. Even though she knew that Yang Kai was not the type of person to disregard the life or death of his companions, she still couldn't stop her thoughts from running wild. She wondered if perhaps Yang Kai had left her here, abandoning her because she was dragging him down. No, that won't happen. Lu Xianyun shook her head. If Yang Kai really was that sort of person, then he would not have brought her along to escape from Blue Feather Sect in the first place, even giving her all that wealth when they parted ways so she could support herself. Yang Kai would also never have taken the risk to provoke a Third Order Emperor Realm Master at the Delightful Pleasures Pavilion several days prior to lead her away with him. Senior brother must be doing something important. Lu Xianyun consoled herself. As soon as her thoughts came to an end, Yang Kai's aura suddenly and mysteriously appeared again. Immediately after, he rushed out from behind the mound. Senior brother, Lu Xianyun's heart felt like a large stone had been lifted off of it and she finally relaxed. Yang Kai moved over to her and wrapped his arms around her again without a single word. Urging the surrounding space principles, the pair disappeared in an instant. A moment later, the two of them arrived 1,000 kilometers away. Only then did Yang Kai summon his wooden ship, pulling Lu Xianyun onto it and urging her, "Take your clothes off." Upon hearing this, Lu Xianyun's face turned red.